Well, hello, we're back.
Hi, I'm Tina.
I'm Jason, and so we're glad that you're here. You've joined us, and
Or I'm Mom.
I'm Dad,
Or I'm Nana.
and I'm Papa.
All right,
All right.
there you go.
Well, technically not yet, but that's what we're planning on.
Right.
We still got how many months?
6 months, 7 months.
No.
Oh, maybe.
October, November, December,
Six
January,
months.
February, March. So about 5 months. That's what I'm hoping.
I said 6 months, probably.
Did you? I want 5 months. If we're going to do it, let's just do it now.
What will happen? So, anyway, we're going to go back. I forgot to tell you, we hadn't told you our parents' names and a little bit about their history. Because, if you want to know history, you got to go back.
Right.
And
And so your mom and dad are
Tim and Nancy Bost.
right.
Nancy Doddridge Bost. My dad, had 7 siblings. It was Rich, Ed, John, Tim, Will, Paul, Barb, and Dale. And
That was 7.
it was, yeah.
Okay.
So those are all my aunts and uncles. Only one aunt, if you could tell.
And they called her Barbie.
They did. So
So-
she's special. She's a lot of fun, and we love her so much. And then they all married and had kids. So I have lots of cousins from that side.
Lots of cousins.
And my mom, she's one of 13. 13. Okay, you ready to number them?
Okay, you ready?
Dawn, Ann, Dave, Gerald, Bob, Lois, Jim, Nancy, John, Eva, Linda, Randy, Debbie. Woo!
13.
And they all got married as well, and they all had kids, and I had lots of cousins.
Not just one kid.
No, they had 3 or 4. Most of them had 3, if not 4 or 5. So
A lot of
it was
cousins.
fun, and we had a lot of fun growing up.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, you didn't even go. That was in Ohio. My grandparents lived in Minford or Chillicothe. The daughter side was in Minford. The boss side was in Chillicothe and Circleville.
Yeah. So, and then my parents are Larry Allen Caddy, and he was born in Troy, Alabama, and grew up there. And actually, you had Mary Caddy, and her maiden name was Kelly.
Why didn't I say those?
Yeah. And then you had, I didn't really get to know my dad's dad. He died on January 20th, 1971, and I was born July 20th, 1971. So we didn't ever get a chance to meet. And then, but I believe his name was James Caddy. And then you had my mom, who is Elizabeth Ann Snoddy, is her maiden name. Her married name now is Sluga, and she had one brother, who is William Snoddy, or we call him Uncle Bill, and her parents were Elmer Jean Snoddy, or her maiden name was Senn, Senn, and I don't remember my great grandmother's name. I have no idea, but her name, we called her Big Mama. And Big Mama was at least 4'7" and weighed 7 pounds if she was soaking wet. And then we had Pawpaw, which was my grandfather. That was her grandfather. And
Your mom's grandfather.
yeah, my mom's grandfather. And his name was William Admiral Dewey Senn, Senn. So, and then my mom's dad was James, J.E. Snoddy.
Yep. James Earl, probably. I don't know.
I don't know.
We don't know.
Don't know. This is why we're doing what we're doing, so that people will know a little bit about our family. And my mom was raised in Troy, Alabama as well. So,
My grandma and grandpa was Arnold and Opal Doddridge. Opal Childers Doddridge. And the fun fact is the Cyrus family is on their side, and so are the Timberlakes. Her grandma, I think, was a Timberlake.
mhm.
So that's where Justin and Miley came in the picture for our family line.
Yeah.
Opal and Arnold Doddridge, and then Mavis and Milford Bost. Mavis was a Campbell, and she was born in Toledo.
Toledo.
I don't know where my other grandparents were born. My grandpa worked on the railroad, Doddridge, and then he raised pigeons, so that was fun. We would always go to the pigeon barn,
Mm-hmm.
and then my grandpa,
Homing pigeons.
homing pigeons. So he would send them, and they'd come back. And then my other grandpa, he was a pastor and a builder, so that's what he did.
Both of my grandfathers were in World War II. And my dad's dad was a mechanic, I believe, and kept things running and moving and grooving. And my mom's dad was a tail gunner. So he would sit in the bottom of the plane, at the back of the plane, and operate a machine gun. And actually, for once upon a time, he got shot down. I don't know where. That's the problem.
Yeah, I don't know.
But he got shot down and was a POW, a prisoner of war, for about a year.
I think China.
I don't know. I don't know.
We don't know.
Don't know. And need to find out one of these days. And so so he was a POW for a year, and my mom says that when he came home, that life was very, very different. Because after, you know how you make a sandwich, and when you eat the sandwich, there's little crumbs that fall off the piece of bread because you're eating it and it just falls off. And typically you just kind of wipe those things away, right? Kind of throw them away. When he came home, you couldn't do that because he would get really upset. And
He came back upset.
he came back
He was
upset.
very sad.
He was very sad. Well, he'd been a POW, and basically those little crumbs would have lasted him throughout the year. That was a meal.
Not
where,
the year.
Well, somewhere in there, a month. He didn't get much. He didn't get much. They didn't treat him very well, and so it was kind of tough whenever he came back from war. So the other fun thing about my mom's dad's family, and we actually got to go see this the other day. He was from Jasper, Alabama, and his family started a Church of the Nazarene. It was called Snoddy's Chapel, Church of the Nazarene. It's now known as Jasper Northside Church of the Nazarene.
Yep.
It was
It's still on Snotty Road.
Snoddy's Chapel Road or Lane or whatever it
I
was.
took a picture. I
Yeah.
don't remember.
Maybe we can include the picture somehow. And so it's still going. And so that's pretty cool.
It's really special.
Yeah, we got a chance. It's one of those little small white churches, where it's just a white building and one, not much to it, but it's
One room.
yeah, one room church, almost like a one room schoolhouse kind of thing. So that's kind of nice, and so that's a little bit about our family, a little bit. I have a total of 7 cousins. I don't even know if you know how many cousins you
I
have.
could write them down, but I'm not going to talk about it right now. It's too
No.
long.
No.
I have a lot.
Lots. I have 7, 2 from Uncle Jimmy, Tanita and Mike, 3 from Uncle Bill, which would have been Troy, Jessica, and Allison, and 2 from Uncle Steve, which would have been Stacia and Travis. So those are all of my cousins, and we didn't really get to see each other, but you,
Oh, I got to see him like on Sundays after church. We drive the hour up to my Grandpa Doddridge's house, and all the uncles would be sitting in the living room smoking their cigarettes. Poor Papa, he just would sit there and just talk with them, because he didn't do that stuff. And then all the ladies would be in the kitchen cooking, and then all the kids were outside playing, hitting home runs, and just doing that kind of stuff, having fun outside in the yard. Because their house wasn't really big, but it was a nice sized house,
sure.
but not for 13 kids and their kids, and you know.
No, they all shared lots of beds.
And then Grandma and Grandpa Bost lived in. I remember they lived in Chillicothe, then they moved again, then they moved to Circleville, and then back to Chillicothe. So it's just I have a lot of fond memories of going to my grandparents' house.
One of the other things that you said you need to tell the story, so I'm just going to tell the story here. Because the last episode we were talking about ages 5 through 10, right? Is that what it was? And I didn't tell this, but I know our kids love this story. They thought it was one of the funnest things. Whenever I was probably about 7, maybe 6, somewhere in there, there was a kid that lived up the street, and he became kind of my best friend. His name was Jonathan. And Jonathan, and I would just have a lot of fun. We'd play a lot of different things. We'd kind of hang out together. Um, but one of the things that we would play all the time was Batman and Robin. And right next to my house was a ditch. And the city had come in to kind of keep it from washing away a little bit. And they had put rocks. Now, these rocks were about this big whenever I was little. Now that we go home, or we used to go see the house, they're probably about this big. But back then, they were, I'm telling you, they were huge. They were huge. And so Jonathan and I would go and we would play Batman and Robin, and we would change at different times. Sometimes I was Batman, sometimes I was Robin, and we would throw the bad guys down. Well, one day I found a big bad guy. I mean, he was this big, and so I said, Jonathan, I said, look what I got. And I found a big bad guy. And he said, well, I'm Batman today, so I get to throw the bad guy down. I said, no, 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 no. I found this bad guy. You didn't. I get to take him down. And so we kind of argued for a moment. Well, then I did the smartest thing that a 6-year-old knows to do. And I said, well, here. Now, remember, it's this big. And I said, here. And I gave it to him. And he took it, and I went down into the ditch. And I said, if you're so strong and big and bad as Batman, then you can throw it over my head. And Jonathan said, you need to move. I said, no, I'm not moving. If you're that good, you're that good. Just go ahead and throw it. And we argued about that for just a minute or so. And so finally he said, well, I'm going to throw it. I said, well, go ahead, because you ain't going to hurt me. And he threw it. Now, I remember him throwing it right at me, because he just thought he could do it and throw it over my head. And so as soon as he threw it, I moved to my right, this way. And he threw it, I moved to the right, and that rock must have been blown by the wind or something, because it hit, and it hit on the back of my head. And man, and remember, it's this big. And so it hit the back of my head, and I went like this, because it hurt really bad, and I went like this, and I saw nothing but red, because it had totally cut my head wide open. So I covered my head, and I ran into the house, Mom, Mom, Mom. And she was in the middle of changing my brother, Uncle Matt, and changing my brother. He was a baby. And I said, Mom, Mom, look, and there was blood everywhere, and she didn't know what to do. And she was literally, the boy, it was stinky, and he's trying to be changed stuff. So she grabbed a diaper. Now, whenever we were growing up, we had cloth diapers. And so it wasn't like Pampers or anything else. So she grabbed a diaper and stuck it on my head, and I had to go to the doctor with a diaper on my head.
It's like a blanket.
Yeah.
That's what they were like.
Yeah, I mean, it's a thick piece of cotton, about yay big.
And
And so with a blanket on my head, a diaper on my head, and so we walked into the doctor's office. It was right up the street. And I go, oh, and so they literally had to put stitches in my head. So that's probably why I am the way I am today.
Oh, you're pretty cool.
Yeah. So that was kind of a fun thing, a fun memory. Jonathan and I didn't get to play together for a while. His mom was pretty mad at him.
Huh.
She grounded him at like 6 years old.
Wow. Another memory for me is 3rd grade. I always went out and I always raced. I was the fastest runner, which is kind of funny because I don't like to run, but I was the fastest runner out there. I didn't do the whatever patty cakes or whatever those were. Those were too girly for me. So I always had fun. But in 3rd grade, I wrote a play.
There
And
you
it
go.
was huge. I took it to my teacher. I said, Mrs. Beck, that was her name. I wrote this play. You want to read it? And she read it. And she said, this is so good. Maybe you go back and you can write me a little bit more. I was like, lady, I'm done. I wrote what I wanted to write. My play is done. And let me tell you, it was a whole 2 pages, 3 pages long. I was like, that wasn't good enough.
That wasn't good enough. That's crazy.
So anyway, that was a fun fact from 3rd grade.
3rd grade. 3rd grade, that's probably when I first started playing basketball, maybe 2nd grade. I still remember my pastor coming to watch me play.
Yeah.
And I was kind of embarrassed because back in those days, this will tell you how old, back in those days, we weren't allowed to wear shorts. We wore
Not even
shorts.
girls.
We wore shorts, but like when I went to church camp, we couldn't wear shorts, except for like if we were on the ball field or something. And so I thought, oh man, I'm in trouble because I'm wearing shorts. I probably was 10 or 11 back in that day. I don't know. Anyway, I still remember that. I remember Matt and I, whenever we were play, I remember one time I had one of those racetracks. Probably Uncle Tim had one of those where you pulled the gun and
Yep.
and I had it set up in the room, and Matt came in and stomped on it and tore it all apart, and that was not a good day. So those were always fun things to remember. Let's see, anything else?
I played softball.
Did you?
and yeah, and soccer.
Oh, cool.
So that was fun.
Yeah. Other than that, I'm just thinking about any more about our family. So we know that my family kind of came out of Jasper and Troy, Alabama, and Mom and Dad met, I think, in college. I don't know. Dad graduated from Auburn University, and then they married. And your parents?
They met at Circleville Bible College
Yeah.
in Circleville, and my Aunt Karen introduced them. She worked with my mom at GE, and she said, "Oh, I got somebody for you." And her husband was my Uncle John, and so she connected them, and they were at the same school, so it was pretty special.
It was pretty cool. So, hey, we are trying to keep these a little shorter, and we keep talking because this is fun.
It is.
I
It's
like
good.
learning about you.
It's good stuff. I like learning about you.
She's amazing.
So far, I've known everything about you that you just told. So,
Yeah,
and
that's
I
funny.
think you know mine too.
I keep learning about my stuff. Hey,
All right, y'all have a good day.
we love you. We'll talk to you soon.
and
Oh,
Hurricane Helene is going through right now. That's why it's so rainy
yeah.
and windy.
I think in episode 2 we had Hurricane Francine,
Right.
and now we have Hurricane Helene,
So,
and everybody's good right now. So
yeah, we're all good.
yeah, all of our family. So hey, we love you, and talk to you soon.
See you next time.
Bye.